But there's a big story behind that, which my wife can tell you because she's in historic preservation and all that. Plattsburgh has an H. There's something that they had to do to get an H years ago.
Yeah, that was painful looking at the Lofgren show last night. You came last night to the dinner?
No.
You missed Mike's induction?
Yeah.
One of your ex-partners?
Yeah, I told him, I had emailed him. I saw him this morning.
He was great.
I'm sure he was. I'm sorry. They got videotaped, right?
I assume so.
I thought they usually.
Well, they were going to, but this ended so late when they got over there, because I barely got there in time. But I walked in, grabbed a glass of wine, sat down, and they were starting.
Well, I hope they
Which
did.
picture is Robles? Is he, which one is he? This guy. This is Robles. Two B's. Robles.
You got your sunnies.
I don't. Bradford saved me.
Yeah, mine are in my car. I got that thing right in my way, so that's.
I got it.
Wait, we need to get you another chair. What happened to the chair?
No, this one right here. I don't know. Maybe I do. I haven't been there. Who's Red Bulls?
The food's pretty good at over there, Chow.
Oh, it's delicious.
It's much better than the one across the river at Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Not Texas Road, but it's Brazilian too. Fogo's much better.
Yeah, they had this Parmesan encrusted pork,
Yeah.
which was,
Yeah.
although at this point I've decided I'm never eating again.
Yeah. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
All right, you guys will go through our production meeting.
Okay, we're ready.
So Brad and Lauren, we're gonna do like one big
Production meeting.
Okay. Obviously, John will have different stuff for you guys, but it's the same flow. So we're both coming in from the bump. From the bump, we'll be on the wide shot where we say hello and welcome to. From hello and welcome to, we're gonna take a look at the players on the court and their bios. We'll draw up their bios. We're going through their bios, well, pros from where, what they do, and stuff. We'll come back to the wide shot. One announcer will announce who is wearing what and what side of the court they're on. Probably some strengths, some weaknesses about their game. We'll take a look at the draw and how they got to where they are. From the draw and how they are, it's kind of just, fill in the blanks, ad lib, just do whatever you guys do. Just kind of fill in some time until we're waiting on the umpire to make his announcement. After the umpire's announcement, it's go time. Any questions? Let's have a great day.
So I'll bring us in, I'll introduce you, you'll read the bios, and then I'll describe the players.
Okay. Why don't you just be right up there?
Right up there for you. Yeah. Hey Kelly, can you bring up our bios?
Yes, I can.
We know that these are. Crick, Lofgren, Alex Hume, and Tommy Croker.
Croker.
Okay.
Hey Jerry. Jerry, I don't know if you want to add it, but I'm pretty sure Nathan Crick is in Quail Hollow. Okay. Yeah, fat chance of that.
Quail Hollow, where is that?
North Carolina, Charlotte.
Quail Hollow Country Club? Quail Hollow Country Club?
I think it's Quail Hollow Country Club, but you don't have to add it.
Like 14th and like 17th. Okay.
Ready for today? So long. Get it, Rich. Well, it's because those lessons are given. You guys good on the bios? I'm going to put the court back
Yep,
up.
all good.
I should have brought my glasses.
Grab 'em.
Test.
I already did it. I'm not doing it again. Good morning and welcome to sunny Pittsburgh for the 2019 APTA Nationals, presented locally by PNC with thanks also to the APTA's national official sponsors, Viking and Uline. We're live from the Fox Chapel Racquet Club in Pittsburgh on the APTA Network, presented by eNet Live. I'm Mark Fischel along with Martin Sturgis, bringing you this round of 32 matchup between Tommy Croker and Alex Hume against Nathan Crick and Randy Lofgren, the 15th seeds. Martin, why don't you introduce our players to the audience?
Okay, Mark, good morning to you too. We have the team of Nathan Crick and Randy Lofgren. They're currently ranked 14th. Nathan is from Fort Mill, South Carolina, and Randy Lofgren is also from Charlotte, North Carolina. He's the 28th ranked player, and he's the director of junior development at Old Providence Racquet Club in North Carolina. They are playing Tommy Croker from Alexandria, Virginia. They are currently ranked 17th. And Alex Hume from Alexandria,
the one I gave you guys,
who is a manager at an accounting firm.
Okay, so taking a look from the backdrop, you see Hume to the left at the bottom of the screen, and his partner Tommy Croker to the right. On the far side, Nathan Crick is the left-hander with the jacket on, and his partner Randy Lofgren is on the ad court. He's a righty. So looking at the players, Croker has a huge forehand. Played tennis at University of Virginia. Really talented. He and Hume have played together all year. Haven't played a lot of paddle, but they're coming off a victory at the Open Draw at Short Hills, which jumped them all the way up to, I think, 17 in the rankings. Hume played tennis at the University of Kentucky, so you have two really talented rackets people, neither of whom are in the business. Hume will drive the backhand. It's a very flat forehand. On the other side of the net, we have two tennis pros. Randy Lofgren, who played at Denison College. Randy's in the backhand court. He loves to drive the backhand. Forehand can get a little shaky at the time. And then Nathan Crick. Nathan is the director at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. Nathan's a lefty, and he tends to play a little more passively than Randy. So to me, they tend to go as Nathan Crick's forehand takes them. And these two teams are very evenly matched. I expect a tough battle between them.
Well, Mark, it's pretty sunny out here, as we both mentioned. How do you think that's going to affect the play?
Well, they're temporary courts, Martin, and they're in a north-south direction, which is not the preferred direction, but the sun is much more to the east this morning, and I think at least down here on the temporary court, sun's going to be a little bit less of an issue. And the sun's supposed to go in sometime mid-morning.
As all paddle players know, it's probably the only sport that does not enjoy the sun. Yesterday was much cloudier, and the visuals were much easier.
It should be noted that from a geographic perspective, I think that Crick and Lofgren are the first team from Charlotte, Region 7, ever to be seeded, which is really exciting, and they are, well, let me let the umpires announce them.
The PNC APTA National Championships is the best of 3 sets with tie breaks. To my left in the deuce court from Fort Mill, South Carolina, Nathan Crick. His partner in the ad court from Charlotte, North Carolina, Randy Lofgren. To my right from Alexandria, Virginia in the deuce court, Tommy Croker. His partner in the ad court also from Alexandria, Virginia, Alex Hume.
So as I was saying, Martin,
Crick and Lofgren will serve first.
the Charlotte guys are really a byproduct of the APTA grant program. The APTA contributed putting 2 courts in at the Old Providence Club, which is a beautiful tennis club in Charlotte. I think they've got 27 tennis courts. And both Crick and Lofgren started playing paddle again. Crick is from Lofgren's from Ohio originally, and he played some as a kid, but had kind of lost touch with the game. And Crick started playing in the last couple of years after the APTA put those courts in. So it's really exciting to see the growth of the game in the different areas of the country. And kudos to Scott Bondurant and the whole APTA board for all the hard work they've done growing the game in areas where it wasn't so popular 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it really seems like it's spreading out all over the country. I know, talking to David Dodge, you can't even keep up with building courts. The demand is so great, which is obviously fantastic for the sport. I think that, and also developing more public facilities, which we have quite a few of here in Pittsburgh, where you don't have to be a club member. And that's where most of our top players in Pittsburgh have come out of. They've all been from recreational facilities.
Okay, so Nathan Crick to serve, and he'll be serving to Tommy Croker in the deuce court. Here we go. And there you see some fast action to start. Big return from Hume, 30. Takes us to love 30. Croker and Hume just have to be really confident coming off their win at Short Hills.
Yeah, Crick and Lofgren have basically given away 3 points here.
Make that 4.
Yeah.
Game. Croker, Hume. They lead the first set 1 game to love.
It's usually an advantage to have a lefty-righty combination at the net, especially when it's sunny like this, because if the sun is a factor, obviously with both forehands in the middle, the person who can see it better can play it. As we found out yesterday, the screens are very tight, and I know some of the matches I watched, I think there were more service breaks than holds, so we'll have to see if that stays true today.
Well, serve is clearly a disadvantage as the temperature climbs.
And it is climbing.
Tommy Croker to serve.
Love.
Crick's feet have a tendency to be passive. He tends to react to the ball rather than really go after it. And he's going to have to generate some offense to win today, because there's no lack of offense on the other side of the court.
Love.
A very shaky start for Crick Lofgren. There's an aggressive forehand from Crick. It's always nice to win that first point. You don't want to get shut out. Holds of serve are going to be very valuable today. Good swing, right shot.
He's kind of pushing that forehand.
Yeah, not committed to it, really releasing the paddle head. There's that Lofgren backhand. And that ball just exploded off the wires.
I was just thinking that it wasn't hit that hard, and yet it was very easy to retrieve. It's going to make the court play very small.
So talk a little bit about that, Martin. When the ball's flying like it appears to be today, both with the wires and as the temperature warms up, how did you adjust your game?
Well, the first thing is, if you do get a chance for a drive, you don't want to overhit it, because it's not going to accomplish anything. You almost want to make the people miss their volleys. You almost want them to volley it, because if you just blast it through, you're not gaining anything.
You're right.
Okay, 2-love, another really shaky game from Nathan Crick.
So on the other hand of that, when you're the team at the net, you definitely want to just let it go through when you can, if you're not right on the drive.
Did the ball go through the snowboard?
Yeah, I think it must have. Looks like they're not sure.
Ball. Let's use
Looks
this
like
one.
we're getting a new ball. Puts a lot of pressure on the umpire to remember how many games they've played with the ball. You don't tend to lose too many tennis balls in the course of a Grand Slam match, do you?
15 love.
Okay, 15 love.
Select chord winner.
That's
Beautiful
modern.
backhand.
That's so much a modern paddle there, where you serve, you stay back, and you turn the first volley into the receiver's responsibility.
Yeah, and he gets a juicy ball off the high. Same thing again.
They just can't come in
40
behind that
love.
ball.
They also better not keep feeding that backhand, apparently. I think that low rolling overhead would be very effective today, because that'll come off lower off the wires.
Game, Crick, Lofgren. Croker and Hume lead the first.
Okay,
set,
so they're on the
2-1.
board.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll quell the nerves a little bit. Croker's been to the quarters of nationals, actually the 16s of nationals, with Huntley Montgomery, his old tennis partner from Virginia. So I expect if nerves are going to be an issue today, we're going to see him more from Crick Lofgren than Croker Hume. And we saw a little bit that game, Martin, the whole transition game, which has been, I guess, really started to become a big part of paddle earlier in the 2000s and has really exploded in the last few years as you have fewer and fewer guys and women serving and volleying, but more in the guys' game, where so many people are staying back, playing I formation, and then driving the return of serve at the returner as they come to net.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of the screens are tighter now. The ball's definitely live, and so it comes
Paddles are
off.
livelier.
Paddles are livelier, and for most normal paddle players, getting the serve in and making the first volley is basically a game in itself
Love, 15.
before you get into a point. So
This is Alex Hume serving.
Yep, it's a great shot. And that area right there on Thomas's Nolan corner on the far side, that's the one area where the sun's going to have the big effect. The most spill is coming right into that corner.
it's a nice
Big
dig.
dig.
Oh, there we go. Couple of great points now for Brandon Mitchell.
A little aggressive there from
Yeah.
Lofgren.
15
I was just
all.
going to say it looks like Crick and Lofgren are trying to slow it down.
Hard down, and it just gives an easier ball over there. Mitchell swats it away with a great shot.
Boy, 2 consecutive volleys from Croker, normally
15,
reliable
30.
volleyer.
Nolan, they'll hang in there. They'll keep
It's
playing.
a pretty good rip on the return.
But I have seen that, some of their matches, they're either in them or sometimes they're not. And they got to stay in this one. You can't let Durant steamroll you.
Well, there's that roller overhead, which is such a big part of the new age game of paddle.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really good shot today. Try to let it drop down.
Big riff from Lofgren there, but he
30
misses
all.
it. Takes us to 30 all. Those early games are so important in terms of creating belief. When you come on the court against maybe a team you haven't seen before,
Whipping forehand, Thomas.
and you're feeling good, you think you can win, but you're really not sure what you're facing across the net.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what adjustments are made. So that's a shot that's definitely a weapon over there. I think they need to try not to give him that.
He's hit 4 or 5 big backhands early. Right
Here
there it
comes
is again. And there, Hume's got to have more discipline to let
40.
that ball through. And it was really a well-spotted drive. Not a volley he's going to make on a high enough percentage basis.
I think that's definitely true, but I think they also have to try not to feed that shot in the first place.
Growing crew of people up there, but there's not as much opportunity.
Yeah, that's a ball Crick kind of reacted to as opposed to looking for the forehand. Doesn't seem like he's got a lot of confidence in that shot, does he, Martin?
No, I think he pushes it a little bit. I think it's almost too short. Usually a good short swing is the thing to do, but it looks a little...
Like it lacks belief.
Yeah, I think maybe if he just really rips a couple in a row.
Yeah, the only damage Crick and Lofgren have done so far is with the Lofgren backhand, which is what you were talking about earlier. Let's see if they
Yeah,
make the adjustment. There they switch to get the Hume overhead in the middle. That's not where you want it.
No, seems to be their most effective weapon.
You see that sun, you feel it warming up, the players are getting down, the ball's already in his t-shirt.
Add in.
Crick seems a little tight to me early, Martin.
Yeah, he's definitely missed a few shots that he probably doesn't usually miss. Still early, though.
Well, it's so much of an easier game to play from ahead than behind. There's a good forehand. And there's...
I think that's... Obviously, everybody would always
Croker,
rather
Hume,
be
they
ahead.
lead the first set 3-1.
I think there's also a danger to winning the first set too easily.
Yeah, I agree with that. That does remind me of the great Charles Barkley line, that good players have confidence when they're playing well and great players have confidence when they're playing poorly.
15 love.
That ball just seems to be
15 all.
flying on the first volley.
Yeah, it's one thing to volley the ball in the middle of the paddle. It's another thing to deaden it coming off the paddle so it doesn't fly.
Now, would you alter your play if you were Croker Hume, given how Crick looks a little tight?
Well,
15-30.
I mean, they're up 3-1, right? So I think I would just hold the course and maybe throw Crick a few more balls, but that can come back to bite you.
Couple of
That's
big
good work
backhands.
on the lobs.
Missed volley confirmed
Yeah.
by chair umpire.
Did look like Crick and Lofgren were trying to place their
15-40.
overheads a little better there. Didn't give them as much juice to work with. Oops.
Game. Croker Hume, they lead the first set 4-1.
And to me, this is the point of the match where, regardless of whether they come back and win the set, you really want to see Crick and Lofgren kind of settle down. There's a look at the weather. Feels a lot warmer than 32 the way the ball's jumping, doesn't it, Martin?
Yeah, it really does. It's going to jump even more if it's going to get up to 49.
And unfortunately, it's supposed to get cloudy later in the day. And then I think at night we're supposed to get some rain tonight starting at 7 or 8. It'll be a little dicey for the quarters.
Well,
So, Martin,
hope
not
that
that it
holds
ever
off.
happened to you, but other people you knew about who might be nervous in a match, how did they find a way to settle down and get into the match and start playing paddle and ignore all the the extra activities, you know, nationals, live streaming, and just play.
I think when you get to nationals, unless you've played a lot of them and it's in your blood and you're used to it, there's a lot of nerves. And I think the best way is to try and slow it down. I used to like to go into lob mode at the beginning if I didn't know the other team, if the other team was favored. I'd just like to get into long points to get a feel for your opponent and also to let your nerves settle in.
Talk about keeping the ball in play, things like that, but it's not just about keeping the ball in play.
Of course, in the old days, we were too stupid to stay back. So we'd go out against a top team who was on their game, and we'd get blown away 1-1 and not even feel like we played paddle. Wish we thought to stay back then. Maybe players are not only more athletic, they're smarter.
I see Crick play a more patient point here. See if he can find his footing. But it is true that, you know, there are all the other tournaments and there's nationals from a pressure perspective. And so much of nationals is dealing with that pressure and those expectations.
Yeah, the winner of nationals is definitely had their season. If you're going to win one tournament, you want to win the nationals.
We had the wonderful Hall of Fame induction ceremony last night for Mike Stulak, and I remember the year he played with Mark Parsons. They couldn't win a match the whole year. I don't think they held their seed until the penultimate tournament of the season. Came into nationals as a low seed, and then didn't lose a set.
They baited everybody. They just played possum all year.
Great job losing matches.
30-15.
Okay,
So
that's
even though he rolled that into the net, that is the shot that's an effective shot.
but
It
a
is
much
dangerous by letting the ball drop too low. Once in a while, you got to put it into the net.
much more patient point from Crick and Lofgren.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what they want. They need to make this first set last as long as they can. So those are smart overheads. Just keeping it low, taking the pace.
You know, of the teams right now, obviously Durant and Mitchell are up, and they've been winning a lot more of those. You know,
Just wait for a really good opportunity, even if it takes 100 shots. What you can't afford to do is miss an easy lob or an easy screen.
There's
It's
a
a
good
beautiful
forehand.
drive.
30 all.
So if I think they take that mentality basically on every point, they may have a chance to come back here. Of course, you have to make that drive.
Here's one of the other big changes in the game. See the activity at the net from the netman moving to the middle of the court, cutting off the return of
40,
serve.
30.
Again, something you didn't see in the game 15 years ago.
No, and also, even though you don't want to hit a forehand volley, I do think it's a great skill to have when the ball's being served to the deuce court and you're a righty. If you're pretty sure they're not coming at you with it,
They lead the
and
first
you
set
can
5-1.
volley that ball with your forehand and cover the center for your partner, it really does help a lot.
Well, it's amazing how many of the top guys volley on the forehand side. I know you played with Mike Cochran, who volleyed almost exclusively on the forehand. Yeah, I think this is an important game for Crick Lofgren to find their way into the match.
But they're definitely playing more patient. And both teams are kind of settling in here to the conditions, I think. The skill for the team hitting the overheads is to just try and place it and not give that other team anything to hit. Don't necessarily have to hit it hard. That's where the lefty-righty really helps, because that's such an easy ball for the lefty. Whereas if he was a righty, he would have been way out of position or hitting the backhand overhead.
Really well played point from both teams here. And you see both Hume and Croker driving their backhands and their forehands.
Yeah, that's the greatness of Johan Durant. Get a great return at his feet. You think they're blitzing in and taking control of the ball. It's a touch of volley, soft and low, but you can't do anything with it. Takes the net right after it.
He's in control, but not you.
This point might be longer than the first 3 games.
Oh, it's beautiful drive.
Yeah, Hume
Love,
kept asking that
15.
question, finding him off the net,
Yeah.
hitting that low probing drive. Crick didn't have the answer there.
It's tight games.
I think Crick needed to play that ball over into the deuce
40 love lead. You're down
instead of letting the AdCore player move over and drive it, because he was the one off the net.
come back and take it. It's all it's like a lot of wasted action. It's a letdown. Solid.
There's that backhand.
Smart for Croker Hume not to follow that ball in.
Yeah, I think all the players are getting a better feel for the conditions and how the courts are playing. It's the
Lot
thing
of-
about paddle tennis, you know, every court could play a little bit differently. Like our courts up top, up the hill here, probably play a lot different than these do. They're older.
Some great lobbing from Croker Hume the last couple of points. Really creating a lot of movement at the net for Crick Lofgren. That's good.
So that's why I
15
question
all.
why play that overhead there.
Very few people on the right side of those.
Same overhead that Crick made the mistake with. There's that
Oh, that
big
came way out.
Croker forehand. Great
might see
lob.
it. We may see a ball driven into the back street and come back over the net today, Mark.
It's flying. There's a great rip.
30, 15.
Hume doesn't recognize they're switched, and he hits a down-up overhead right into the Crick forehand.
40, 15.
Australian. Couple of fast misses there from Croker
Kane, Crick,
Hume.
and Lofgren.
Takes us to
Croker
5-2.
Hume lead the first set 5-2.
It's still, even though they're behind, that was a good hold.
Great roller, good job.
Make this set last as long as you can.
Yeah, Crick's looking a little more comfortable out there.
Went up to that short ball that he held it and he hit a little lob there. I thought he was going to start trying to do a little whistle
Right.
break.
Chip can come in himself. Martin Nolan has done a good job eliminating their errors.
Yeah, they made a few loose ones early on, Lauren.
Uline is the leading distributor of shipping, industrial, and packaging materials to business throughout North America. They ship over 2.5 million boxes every day, but they are so much more than a box company. More than 32,000 quality products are always in stock and ready to ship. Outstanding customer service means they're here when you need them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Uline, the best selection, products, and people for an unforgettable customer experience. Martin, should we talk about your big win over Brian Uline in the Nationals a few years back?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll save that for later in the match.
Out. Love, 30.
Okay, a
Yeah, that was a fun match.
fault and a missed serve from Hume. Sense things tightening up here a little bit.
We almost missed that serve.
Yeah, that barely caught the line, if it did indeed catch.
Oh, got that right in the crease. Durant twisted around.
Nice move. Great anticipation.
There he gets the lead cord.
Love 40.
Hittable ball by Mitchell, but he's not set to hit it. Oh, the sirens there throwing off Thomas. Some sirens in there.
Well, they're hitting a lot of balls into that Lofgren backhand, aren't they?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and he's got a beautiful stroke on that.
Yeah, a little bit of a sloppy game. You got
I think that's the place I would stay away from.
3 of our 4 players wearing shorts. That's a good looking forehand from Crick. Really released the paddle head there. See, he's starting to get comfortable out there.
Score update. Pigley and Potsenko are up 3-2 against Blake Anderson and Mark Foster.
It's a great volley.
Oh, that's not the place you want to hit the overhead.
40.
It was a little deeper, though.
A little bit
wasn't-
deeper.
Which I think saved them from having to volley another drive.
dynamic stuff comes more from Anderson, Boston. Great hitter of the ball.
Lofgren's backhand seems to be much better than his forehand, but his forehand is still effective. He just hits it differently.
Really well for other players.
South African writing. Man, sure, they're both South African.
They broke those out at the Boston Open. Fun shirts and sort of a nod to their countrymen back home. You know, people who might be watching on the line.
That's the shot you have to be careful of.
Tongue-in-cheek,
Well, they just keep feeding it right here.
Yeah.
Another update. Marco Rangero and George Wilkerson are up 4-1 against Toronto.
I think they're better off just going to Lofgren's forehand. See if he can hurt him with it.
Okay, 5-3.
Yeah.
See if Crick can hold. He's 0 for 2 so far.
Crick, Lofgren. Croker, Hume lead the first set 5
Doing a
games
great
to 3.
job, though, of getting into this match, even if they do lose the first set.
And number 1 seeds, Houston Powers are up 2-1 against Master and Hope.
it's underway.
Still early in all these matches, but they're all going.
A lot of great matches out there.
Great lob from Croker there.
Play against Gonzalez and Portland. We got 2 really good wins.
So Lofgren probably could have got his paddle on that lob, but he knew he couldn't hit a decent shot off of it, so it's much smarter to let it bounce and just leave the net.
I got some scores from other matches. Uriah Parsons up 4-1. First set over Lofgren Phillips. That's Will Lofgren, Randy's brother. Hughes Powers 2-1 over Baxter Held. Grangero Wilkinson 4-1 over Karana Wagner. And Bonifigli Prosenko 3-2 over Anderson Bostrom. There's a missed lob from Hume. You don't want to see that,
15 all.
especially in a potential set closing game. Really interesting, Martin. I know the temperature's 32 degrees, but it play feels like it's 50.
Because it's like 70 in here.
That certainly contribute to it.
But I agree, it's very bouncy.
Flick backhand from Crick. Very elegant shot.
There's a smart drive.
Great play by Hume, staying back. Yep, and there Crick beats him with the little dipping
30,
forehand.
15.
You think the net's an advantage on a day today like today, Martin, or a disadvantage?
Absolutely not an advantage.
So why are teams pushing in to get there?
I think it's just habit more. It's, for a lot of teams, it's just instinctive.
Oh, great look from Crick there.
I wonder if we'll
30
see any matches
all.
with both teams staying back today.
So where do you think the game
always
goes,
fun to
Martin?
watch.
If that happens, where do you think it goes? Can you see 4 players exchanging ground strokes from the backcourt?
No.
I mean, the game is predicated on the net being a place of value. That takes us to set point. A little indecision there from
40.
Lofgren. Wasn't really committed to that forehand. Great adjustment by Crick, staying back on serve. Very few players just serve and come in all the time. Great overhead there, catches Croker.
Deuce.
That was a big point.
And I think on a day like today, you'd see more of that. The hard overhead at the guy, maybe you hit him, knock him out of position, and if he's got an easy swing, you retreat and start over again from the backcourt.
Yeah, I think maybe as the day goes on, we see more of that.
A real good backhand from Lofgren.
Calculated risks. They pay off. They're great. Oh. Now this is what we saw earlier when they sort of got down there. Now the errors creeped in there. Just mistakes here. They gotta keep it going tight.
That was a nice forehand.
He's got a really good forehand, but not putting any margin on it right now.
Great spot. Very nice.
Add in.
That team is losing all the points. The only points that are winning are some careless misses from the team in the backcourt. Point for 5-4.
Lofgren really picks his spots with his forehand.
And you see a little confusion at the net from Croker Hume. Really opened the court up there with some nice lobbing, did Lofgren. Lofgren's doing a great job helping Crick on that first volley. Catches the lead cord up. It goes wide. But Crick was in all sorts of trouble there.
Game. Crick and Lofgren. Croker and Hume lead the first set 5-4.
So they're getting into patient overheads, but then it seemed like they would only be patient so long, and then they hit a harder one and get into trouble. A lot of times it's just a matter of patience.
Well, I think today's my favorite day in paddle, Martin. Men's 32s, 16s quarters, women's quarters, semis. Going to be a lot of great paddle. If you're a paddle addict, you're in the right place.
Yeah, it really is kind of a celebration of the sport. Players of lots of different abilities from all over the country.
Especially coming off of last night where everybody in the paddle community was there, honoring Mike Stulak, one of your old partners. Just a tremendous candidate for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's very deserving. One of the best sports I've ever played with.
Yeah, I always remember APTA did a survey of the top players, best forehand, best backhand, and Mike won both best sportsman and best competitor, 2 things you rarely see linked up.
Yeah, it's very true. I've only seen Mike get really mad a few times, and it wasn't over line calls or anything like that. It was just over someone else exhibiting poor sportsmanship, which just didn't compute with him. Our sport, for the most part, is not umpired, and it's on the honor system. So it's imperative that everyone has that attitude.
Fake apology from Hume.
I know we talked about that yesterday, but I think holding the hand up and just saying, you know, I know it was lucky or something, I think that's fine.
Love. Great volley from Croker there, but a risky one. You can't hit that backside serve to Lofgren.
It's a well-placed overhead. That's what I was wondering, if they would try hitting it soft and deep to his forehand. Right, oh, that's too far over. I think that's where I would be putting this ball.
Takes a lot of discipline to hit that overhead over and over again when you know it's not going to win the point.
Well,
but I
sometimes
agree,
you
it's
just
the
don't
right,
want to lose the point.
I agree, it's the right play. But you don't see it that much from Croker Hume. Kind of creating their own movement at the net by changing direction of the ball so much.
That's the spot. And just do it again. Oops.
But then all of a sudden they get away from it for no reason. Like that.
15
Yeah.
all.
Could have easily placed that ball on his forehand side, but
It also
didn't.
plays into the other team's mind. If you find that spot and you just keep exploiting it, the person may not know what to do about it.
15, 30.
This set is really turned. 15-30.
This game to 15-30 point, but there it is.
This has turned out to be a great set.
Commentator's jinx.
It's a great volley, but it's not one you want to have to make.
Yeah, Lofgren was very careful with that backhand. Didn't really go after it. I think that's a function of the fact that the Croker Hume overheads haven't been very good, and he knows he's going to get another swing.
Well, I also think he wants to be cognizant of the fact if he just nails it, they're just going to get it off the screen anyway. So if he can slide one through with a little pace off, it could be a winner.
Dangerous overhead there from Hume.
Yeah, it was a good spike. I think he was trying to go to the same spot low, but he just didn't hit it as well as he could.
And there again is that backside ball, which got him in so much trouble.
But even though he blasted that through, they didn't gain anything. In fact, now they're at the net, which they may not want to be.
And there's a really smart play from Lofgren. Little
Yeah,
ground stroke action, Martin.
Yeah, he's really impressed me. He's a smart player.
And it really looked there like Crick and Lofgren didn't want the net.
Great get.
Catches the seam, but Crick has the answer.
Yeah, great point here.
What do you think? I'm going to hit to the side right here.
Switching back to their normal sides.
Moves over there, and he snaps the forehand. Very quick feet, quick release. It's incredible.
Good lob.
You see that from every player all the time.
Beautiful.
Great backhand. They just keep
Set
hurting him
up
with
by
the
that
same
great
shot.
lob.
40.
But Hume could have floated that ball deep to the Lofgren forehand and chose not to.
Yeah, I'm not sure how settled he was because the lob was so good. He was kind of in trouble. If he hits it harder, he's just going to come at him. I would have hit it harder and just
And
stayed
bailed.
back.
Yeah, that's what they
But I
should have done.
Would not have let him take it off the deck.
Which is exactly what you saw Crick Lofgren do early in the game. Oh, Crick is not happy with that.
30, 40.
That's expensive.
Oh, great move from Mitchell. Perfect play.
It's interesting. Lofgren's forehand drive off of the screen is a much more solid swing than when he hits it off the deck.
Why don't you elaborate on that, Martin?
Well, if you, I'm sure we'll get another chance, but Lofgren's had about 3 forehand drives off the screens, and his stroke was basically as smooth a carbon copy of his backhand, but when he's taking the ball off the deck, he's pushing it, even though he does really push it to good spots, so it can be damaging, but his backhand stroke off the deck is just a sweet swing.
With all the new age paddle that's being played with the different shots, I'm still reminded of what made good spinning Manzinger such a great team. They were just so judicious in their decision making on the volleys. It just didn't get out of their window. And there you see a miss from Lofgren takes us to deuce.
Yeah,
They didn't reach for volleys. They didn't volley better than everybody else. They just didn't miss volleys because they were willing to let the ball through.
Yeah, their paddles were so quiet when they were volleying.
And there
You see
saw
that with Broderick Palmer too. So
Yep.
many of their volleys, they're not even moving their paddles.
And there you saw Hume jumping around, and it ended up causing enough friction that they lost the net, which at the end of the day wasn't a bad thing. At least they didn't miss a volley. Back to deuce. It's amazing the percentage of points being won by the team in the backcourt, isn't it, Morton? Set
Yeah.
point number 2.
That was a big easy miss though. That was a shame.
Great volley there from Croker. So I think that if I was the team at the net, I'd be hitting a lot more hard overheads at the nick with a willingness to bail.
You went for a slap shot there, and he pounded it into the side screen.
Yeah, you don't see him playing the ball to the nick at all.
And to me, that's such an
With a
effective.
lefty in the deuce court, that his backhand's right there. You would think you could hit it hard and get it past him into the screen. It's not like his forehand's there as a righty would be.
There's the type of overhead from Lofgren that I was talking about. Hard after the Hume's nick.
Well, he was trying to hit a winner, and left 40 down.
Again, Hume hard
We
overhead,
really haven't
staying
seen
back.
the ball hit the nick and come way out, have we?
There's game in first set, Croker Hume.
It's a good set.
Croker Hume.
Okay, we'll be
Game
back
4.
in a moment after these messages right here on the APTA Network presented by eNet Live.
From spinning to swinging to throwing, you never know what's next for you. That's why at North Shore Orthopedic Institute, we're always thinking ahead of the curve. From treating the pros to weekend warriors. From minimally invasive procedures to regenerating knee cartilage, helping you wake up pain-free. At North Shore, we're not just here for you now, we're helping you be ready for what's next.
Only 1 in 3 children is physically active every day.
But now, I'm calling the plays.
I'm calling the plays.
I'm calling the plays.
Because every kid
Deserves to know what it feels like.
to do this. To do this. To do this. So they can be happy and healthy. Go to college. Be a coach.
Ask yourself, are you part of the solution?
Because I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
Why? Because kids who play do better.
Okay, welcome back to the 2019 APTA National Championships. We're about to start the second set of this round of 32 match between Croker Hume, Crick Lofgren. Martin, what were your thoughts in the first set, and what do Crick and Lofgren have to do to turn it around?
Well, I think they've always done part of it because they were getting rolled at the beginning of that set, and they did It would have been nice to win the set, of course, and I thought they had a chance to, but at least they established that they're playing much better, pretty much even. And all they needed was maybe a few less, just a couple of mistakes really cost them there. So I think they may have found how they want to play, and now they're getting a clean slate and see what happens.
I've got some scores from the other matches. Grangero Wilkinson won the first set 6-1. Araya Parsons are making it look like a bad day for the Lofgren brothers. They won the first set 6-3. And Hughes Powers won the first set 6-1. Anderson Bostrom were up 6-5 first set. This one's over Bonifigli and Prosinko. Estes serving for the first set over Ordoya Morneau. That'd be a big upset for the Hall of Famer Mike Stulak playing with Scott Estes.
It's tough going against the Hall of Famer, Mark.
You see all these spin overheads, Martin. They're having absolutely no impact at all.
No, in fact, sometimes they're backfiring because they're
like that one.
They're accelerating on the screen.
I mean, to me, today is a day for the Jim Kaufman overhead. Yeah, it's too hot to handle. Just fed it right there. Just soft and deep down the middle.
I hated playing Jim Kaufman. I never felt like I was as smart as him. As a result, I
KG
never beat
competitor.
him.
Longtime partner of Mike Gillespie, too. Another one of the people you thought was a real smart player.
Yeah, it's like they knew something that you didn't.
They made the finals and nationals together one year. I know Gillespie played 3 finals. And there's Lofgren, just no interest in the net at all.
Here we go with a little baseline play.
Yeah, Lofgren seems to have adjusted to the conditions best.
I thought he was the best player on the court in the first set, frankly.
Had that big miss of the overhead.
That's a nice forehand.
Yep.
40, Love.
Pulled it back from the center.
And you see Crick and Lofgren have a clear plan. Not interested in risky volleys. Oof, I was going to say that overhead was close, but apparently it wasn't close. It was out. And you see Lofgren serving hard and staying back. Isn't that the essence of the game? I mean, that's a ball that Tommy Croker couldn't play 100 times out of 100.
I wondered if he almost thought the serve was out. It looked like he wasn't playing the ball.
But the fact that Lofgren wasn't coming in behind it kind of changed his whole attitude of what to do.
Yeah, it was a sloppy swing.
It's 5 of the last 6 games for Crick Lofgren.
It is very different returning when you don't have those targets that you're used to.
People don't like that. They want targets.
They want targets. They want the player at the net. They want the other player coming in. It's what they're used to driving to. It's disconcerting at first if both players stay back. Sometimes we see that.
Oh yeah.
And it's hard to know what to do with that drive because most players are not practicing that very much.
Yeah, I like to say that I miss fewer first volleys than anybody in the country, Martin, because I never hit them, which is a testimony to my volleying more than anything.
You mean you just don't get your paddle on the ball?
Okay, Love 1. They just insist on hitting that overhead into the Lofgren backhand. Got away with that one.
15, Love.
I really like the way
they had gotten away from it, and now they seem to be doing it again. I'm not sure why they're doing that.
They're playing against a team from Denver where Adam Gardner is now. So it's good to see Denver represented here in the round of 32. They played against Schwab, who actually had a season
Just seems to me that
That's
Crick
a
and
good
Lofgren have done a better job of adjusting to the conditions.
I agree. So that's how you want to do it. Make
15 all.
Don't put any extra speed on the ball. Make them generate their own pace. Also gives you more time to position yourself for the drive. I want to see a high ball off the screen and see if Lofgren's forehand is. So that was a shot at,
15,
see, that stroke
30.
is not as smooth as his backhand, but he can put it spots.
It's just way
It may
too
be
much.
tough on the opponent because it's coming out one way from his backhand and then a different speed, different spin off his forehand.
There's just way too much pop on those overheads from Hume.
There's a little confusion at the net, almost cost them. That's nice touch on those shots.
Wow, that was a
Yep.
surprising miss.
30
It was, but
all.
it's a hard ball to play. There's nothing on it. It's low. If you try to wrist it over, you can easily miss it. You see how tight that corner is? Lofgren hardly touched that overhead, and it came way out.
Catches the nick. That's why I say I think Lofgren is understanding the conditions better than
30,
anybody out there.
40.
You see him hitting his overheads at the nick.
Oh, well, it's so funny how that worked out. You see Garton over there, and Nolan's coming in. He sees all of a sudden Durant move forward, so he guides the ball cross court. But it happened so fast that Garton doesn't even get a chance to switch over.
Croker serving almost exclusively down the tee right now.
I think he wants to keep it to the Lofgren's forehand.
Though he's finding the backhand because that ball's caroming off and getting a backside ball.
It's probably hard. It's probably hard to serve the ball. If he serves it too softly, it's going to be taken off the deck. But if he has to put enough on it to get it to the screen, and I think it's just staying up. I think its conditions are just tough.
Great cutter there from Croker. Takes us to deuce.
That's going to do it. Beautiful.
So
Yeah, that
nice
was the
cut
first
off.
blitz we saw from them. Not sure where that came from.
It's interesting he didn't rip that one.
Good tight points. I feel like this could get away from him here.
Those are two nice shots. Safely cross court. Can't hurt you if they make the volley.
Those last two overheads from Croker, he really could have taken a shot at the nick. There, that one too, but just hit them soft in the middle.
Yeah, I think it was a miss it though. I don't think he was hitting a drop ball. I think he was hitting an attacking volley wide.
But as our friend Irene, who's watching from home, pointed out, it's they're so patient. They wait.
There he tried for the nick.
Those big shots aren't going to help you.
A good idea by Crick, but a little late, and that takes us to 1-all.
Hume.
That was a ball that Crick should have been moving to his right as soon as the ball left Lofgren's battle.
Yeah, actually, even before he anticipated it.
Instead, he waited until Hume was hitting the ball.
Yeah, he waited to see where it was going, and then he just couldn't make it. Sometimes you just have to anticipate and guess.
More than sometimes. I think that's one of the big differences when you move from the big tennis court to the paddle court.
We'll have to
Now
see-
you're seeing some hard
we'll see if they
overheads.
go there again, if he makes the move quicker. I don't remember too many overheads directed at Crick's side screen, up the screen like that. A lot of playing at the baseline is seeing what the tendencies of your opponents, where they like to hit their overheads, and as the match goes on, you can start moving much faster. It's a guessing game.
There you see
Nice
Hume
point.
cutting off a
Great
number of them,
point.
creating confusion at the net.
But it's not like they're good speed in Manziger and they played for 15 years with 10 national champions. They still got some stuff to work out.
Phillips and Lofgren 2-2 with Araya and Parsons in the second set. Redberg Lipovere won the first set 6-3.
15, Love.
Hughes Powers rolling. They're up 4-love. Anderson Bostrom in a tiebreak.
It's nice that you have a choice, but nobody will play with me anymore. So I don't have any choices. Thanks for making me feel bad. It's good that you have choices.
30, Love.
Well, there's two easy points.
Players, and there's a critical mass of them.
Missed return and a lob wide.
Yeah, it was a great game for them in the sense like they got a couple points there. 3D here, that's good. I like that. That's a unique sort of start.
That's a ball you got to make them volley.
30, 15.
30-15.
Yeah, I thought he was going to pull that down the line.
I think that's a ball that's got to go at him, not around him, at him, which is almost always the
old
case.
Adam ball.
Yep. Another miss from Hume.
40, 15.
A little bit of a sloppy game from Croker Hume here. Lofgren overhead's almost got a hitch in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, he doesn't do that every time, but I've noticed it. It's like he curls his wrist a little, like he's trying to get more spin. He's actually got a lot of different overheads. He's got the flat, he's got the spin, and then the one where he bends his wrist, and I think he's trying to get more on it, but it's not helping. Good anticipation.
Real patient play from Croker Hume here.
Well, it's matches like this where a lot of people call paddle the chess of the racket sports, because it seems to me whoever plays smarter and patient or tries to figure out where to attack is going to
Game,
win the
Crick,
match.
Lofgren.
And
They lead the
Lofgren
second
played
set,
real
2 games
smart
to
point
1.
there.
Croker Hume won the first set 6 games to 4.
Anderson Bostrom through the first set, winning the tiebreak 7-5. For Andre Bonifigli and Anton Prosenko. Prosenko works for Max Lipovere at the Aspetuck Valley Country Club, and his game is coming along. Made the Region 2 President's Cup team this year for the first time, and really good young player.
So Crocker and Hume lost that game, and they lobbed 2 balls out and missed 1 return of serve into the net.
And 1 return long. Okay, Alex Hume to serve. 1-2, second set.
love.
If it was in, then it was in, then he waited too long.
But Crick's body language hasn't been very good today, has it, Martin?
It's come and gone, I thought.